Hello, and thank you for taking the time to watch this session on risk scoring using the 5 plus 5 plus 5 methodology. During the session, we'll walk through how our approach to risk is evolving, moving from the traditional 5 times 5 scoring methodology to a new, more refined model, 5 plus 5 plus 5. This is a group-wide change that will apply at the James Paget, Queen Elizabeth and Norfolk and Norwich sites. So why are we changing? Historically, we've used the 5 times 5 model, multiplying consequence and likelihood, but this method doesn't explicitly take into account how effective our controls are. The Norfolk Enhanced model introduces control effectiveness as a third scoring element, and this brings increased clarity and assurance on the steps being taken to manage and mitigate risk. We now score consequence plus likelihood plus control effectiveness, giving a more holistic view of the risk. In the old model, you would simply times the consequence by the likelihood to produce a score ranging from 1 to 25. That doesn't tell us enough about whether we're really in control of the risk. With the 5 plus 5 plus 5 methodology, we're asking what the consequence might be, how likely it is to materialize, and how well we are managing it. The control score helps us to focus on what measures we already have in place to reduce the risk and what further controls should be applied. The following slides detail each of the steps of the scoring process, considering the potential consequence, frequency or likelihood of occurrence, and control effectiveness. Firstly, we need to consider the potential consequence of the risk. Consider the most likely case scenario that would occur if the risk were to materialize. Using the organization's risk scoring descriptors, identify which most closely aligns to the most likely case scenario and apply the score from 1 to 5. We then need to apply a frequency or likelihood score to the risk. Frequency scores, i.e. daily, weekly, monthly, should be used to describe those risks that there is quantitative evidence to demonstrate regularity of events. This scoring is objective. Likelihood scoring, using terminology like possible or likely, should be used to describe those risks where frequency does not make sense, i.e. the risk of failing to deliver an annual target. Likelihood scores are more subjective. Once decided, apply the most appropriate score again from 1 to 5 to the risk. Finally, we need to consider control effectiveness. This slide sets out the ISO definition of a control being a measure that modifies risk. This applies to any process, policy, device, or practice or other action which is designed to alter risk, typically reducing the likelihood or consequence of the risk event. Controls do not eliminate risk entirely, but they do modify it. They may be preventative, detective, or corrective in nature. The ISO standards for risk assessment technique note that when assessing controls, organizations should consider the existence of the control, its design effectiveness, operating effectiveness, any documentation and communication of the control, and its monitoring. There are a set of questions on the slide that you should ask to consider how effective the risks are that you have. When considered the controls in place and their effectiveness, a rating should be applied from 1 to 5 using the table outlined on this slide, 1 being fully effective, 5 being controls absent. Following those 3 steps, we will have our consequence, likelihood, and control effectiveness scores, each rated from 1 to 5. We then bring the 3 together by adding the consequence to the likelihood to the control effectiveness, giving us an overall score. This slide sets out ownership, monitoring, oversight responsibilities for a risk, which are all dependent on the level of risk assigned. Risks with high scores, especially if controls are weak, will escalate through our governance structures for appropriate oversight. In summary, the 5 plus 5 plus 5 model gives us better visibility, better assurance, and a more accurate view of how risk is being managed. It aligns with the Norfolk Enhanced model and supports the group's commitment to effective risk management. If you need any help or advice, please speak to your site's risk lead or consult the full risk management policy Thank you very much for your time.